Okay, friends, all for art and art for all. I have a line drawing here, just the Sharpie of the hatchling, and this was a picture that came from the sand. And I'm going to paint my turtle. There was an option of doing the turtle in Sharpie and then painting the sand. But this time I'm going to paint the turtle, and I'm going to try to not use much black. The sea turtles, it's almost a blue. So I'm going to go over here and mix. My water is already really, my mixing pan. Better soak that up from that was from my last painting. Let's get a clean slate here. And I want the black I use to have some blue in it. It just kind of gives it a little bit of life. Okay. And then I kind of go over to the side. Like, here's one of my mess up papers. And I want to see what kind of colors I can get, because I don't want to go in with this super, super dark color. I want to be able to have a range of what we call hues. So I want to kind of test on the side. So let's get in here. In between. And let's add, the dark slowly, shall we say. Okay. I'm testing my marks maybe on, how much pigment is my brush holding? I know that the fins are pretty darn dark, so I don't mind going super dark there. But out here in the shell, I want some contrast, because the shell there were dots. Now the dots were white, but it's hard to paint little circles. If you can do that, that's awesome. But you can also just kind of get that effect. I'm even going to just use some of this paint over there. Yeah, it's good to know, get used to how much pigment your brush is actually picking up. And you have something that you hold like you would a pencil, but it's going to spread, and you are spreading with hair, so it's kind of a different feeling. And you get to push and not just drag things. So I'm just going to fill in with irregular lines. And if you can see, I think it needs to be a little darker. I think it's looking funny right now because of the head being so. Test it out here. It's going to start looking more like a turtle when I fill in. And I don't know if you see the little white that I leave by the eye. I am trying to leave that white there. If you didn't leave that, that's fine. When you look at them in the photo, you can't really see there. And you can add some dots. Even though this is like black on black, when it dries, I'm going to just go grab some black from over here. Their scaly surface, when it dries, that's going to show up. And that little effort you make to put this texture, it's kind of dark in the middle, and then it had white dots on the side. So that extra effort will pay off. And then when you do your sand, you're going to want to let this black dry. And that might mean you paint later, okay? So I don't know if the video picks it up well, but it's not straight black. I used some blue in my black, and it just makes it look a little bit more alive. All right, and then I kind of want to let this guy dry before I come in here and try and do sand. Because anything that touches is going to get... You know what, for my sand, I'm not even going to use brown. I've got kind of a dirty yellow over here in my pan. I gotta play with my color, get the color I want. I want a warm sand. I don't want like a brown that looks like it came out of a bottle. So I've got this orange, maybe a little bit of blue. And then let's see what that looks like on paper over here. Okay, I want it a little bit warmer. So you're welcome to use brown, but I think it's better to experiment and play. Now, this is pretty dry, and I'm going to get my brush wet, and I'm going to be very careful to just stay. I'm getting it wet. My water's kind of dirty. I'm just going to get my paper wet and spread that water out. Maybe I can add some of this pigment. Just real lightly. Watery paper, I'm staying away from. If you have standing water in this color here, you need to wait. There's no more glistening in mine. Mine's dry. My turtle is dry now. And I'm painting at an angle a little bit. I don't know if you can see that. And I'm pushing a little. I'll find a place where I want to put the pigment. I push down and I drag to the side. So I don't know if you can see that. Let me go against the head over here. And then I pull over, and I don't know if you can see how wide that goes, but it's really nice. Now I don't want a big line showing there, so I'm going to have to come in and hug the whole side of the head. I'm going to have to come in, hug that. Let's see if I can't kind of blend that in so it doesn't look quite like a line. This is looking nice. You can get closer and closer to the margin. Margin is a fancy word for edges. I don't really want to outline my turtle, but I do want it. So see how the brush can spread nice to the side. There are actually, if we were in the classroom, we'd have some chisel brushes. But this is what your kids would have. Chisel brushes are nice. They're like flat and wide, and you can really spread some color. Make sure I got all my edges here. Okay, so I have a nice warm background for my sand. There was a little bit, that's probably too much shadow. Let's see, before I just go putting this color on here, I'm going to go off to the side with my mess up paper. It's not quite warm enough. I want it warmer. No, not quite that dark. Let's see, make sure I get the color I want. So I'm trying to add some shadow because there was a bit of shadow that went around like this, around the turtle. This came out nice. It's just a little bit of blue in that. And it went around here a little. And my paper's a little wrinkly. So if the water starts to make a dark pool, I'm going to watch that water and push it where I want it. I want a pretty even shadow. Now this shadow color is kind of fun. Let me just double check it. It might be fun to leave some speckles. And I'm going to do a speckling in a line. Do you see how it looks like all the sand might have gotten pushed by a wave? Maybe I make some a little darker down here. And I'm just letting the brush dance up and down, dance up and down, dance up and down. Whatever I do over here, I'm going to pretend that it keeps going all the way over here. Now as I work my way up, I want it to be a little warmer. Ooh, that came out a lot warmer, maybe too warm. Oh, that's okay. Now I've got some different sand. You know, rocks move around in the water, and rocks that are heavier and rocks that are lighter get pushed together, and those rocks are sometimes, you know, these little sand particles. Make that a little darker. They do. I just don't want that so white right there. You know, there can be some banding in the sand, so. Now around the head, I'm going to do less. Oh, this painting, I think, is done. It's about the turtle, and his head doesn't have sand all over him. So I'm going to stop there before I overpaint it. And there you go. All for art and art for all.